I believe that one of the main definitions that you can give to science is just to doubt. So my aim as a teacher is more to be as a guide and help them navigate between all of those questions. My name is Amit Shlomo. In GT, I'm under the Faculty of Physics and I teach physics courses. In Israel, in the Technion, I'm under the Faculty of Education in Science and Technology. When I came to GT, I fell in love with the atmosphere here, with the students, with the Chinese culture. So now it's already my third year in GT, and I feel very privileged of the opportunity to come and teach. You know, you have several definitions for science, many definitions for science. I believe that one of the main definitions that you can give to science is just to doubt. Doubt, you can doubt about anything you want in life, but of course if we're talking about our topic, is to doubt about what do you really have in your mind? What if I'm explaining the things correctly? And also how we solve problems. The way how doubt is expressed is just by asking questions. So the idea, the ideology in GT is to be able that the students and also the teachers will just ask questions and develop some discussions. These discussions maybe in the end will give us some kind of conclusions. Maybe some will be convinced with these conclusions, maybe some will be not, and that's also okay. And the idea is to check, okay, why are they not convinced and how to continue with it. The idea in the end is that me as a teacher, I'm not the only one that possesses the information. It's not the same like it was maybe in the far past, that if someone wanted to have some knowledge, he would go to the university, he should maybe have a library if he had an access to the library, and there was a finite number of books. Nowadays, almost everyone has the web, has the AI, they can find the knowledge very easily, and of course it's much more than what I can give to them. So my aim as a teacher is more to be as a guide, and help them navigate between all of those questions. Finally also, if I speak in the lesson and nobody will ask me questions, I may think they think in a certain way, but I will never know. Only by discussions and by questions, it will be easier for me to understand what really they think about the knowledge we're talking about, and it also gives me some good feedback. I think before I encourage them, the most important thing that if they encourage themselves. How do they encourage themselves? It's just that if they really have the curiosity. And we also call it internal motivation. If they have this curiosity, it will come by itself. Of course, after that being said, I try my best to also encourage it in several ways. So the idea is that in the classroom, there should be a very nice atmosphere. The students should feel comfortable to ask questions. There can be many kinds of questions. There can be easy questions, hard questions, maybe you can call it stupid questions, smart questions, doesn't matter. The idea is to feel comfortable to ask. Me, as I said before also, my aim is just to be a guider and to help navigate these questions and stay also in topic. Another thing that I like to do in the lessons, I just like to show some demonstrations, and that way I can also, some lifts, some other kinds of questions. Can I show you an example? The idea in demonstrations that it gives me the opportunity just to raise a question, and then maybe they will ask other questions. So let me give you a very, very basic question. It's also a very old question that people ask themselves. You see, I have a ball, yeah? And I have here a car, and the car moves. So now let's say the ball is inside the car. It will go here, and now suddenly the ball will bounce up. Now, I may think about three kinds of options that can happen. One option is, the ball will go, will jump, and will fall here. Second option, the ball will go, will jump, go a bit forward, and fall here. Third option I can think about, the ball will go, jump, and fall inside the car back here. I give you three options. Maybe you may think about another option. I give the class to vote, to think what should happen. We don't need to do any theory. Just try and see. So what we have here is a mechanism. You can see here, you have here a slit. You have here a slit of laser that goes through. If something blocks it, like a card, and I do like this, then what will happen? The ball will jump. So we have here the same thing. I have here just a small slit. When it goes through, the laser will be blocked and the ball will jump. Let's see it. I put it here. I put it down. And I let it go. And you see that it goes totally in 90 degrees up. So I let it go. And we see it goes inside. Then say, okay, we got something. We found that it goes inside. We build from it conclusions. Then also students ask me, wait, what will happen if you do it slow? What will happen if you do it fast? So we try it several more times afterwards because of that. Anyhow, what it is very interesting, this is a 2,000-year question. 2,000 years, most of the societies believed that when the ball will go up, it should fall here, and the car will just continue. That was one of the reasons why people believed that the Earth has to be the center of the universe. If the Earth would have moved and you jump, it should be that the wall comes to me. But that's not really what happens. When you jump, you stay at the same point. So, only around 500 years ago, when the new revolutionary science came, they said no, it's not only about what the mind thinks, but you just need to try. And by trying, you can see what will really happen. So, the ball went, and it goes inside. It's the same like Earth that moves. And when you jump and you fall down to the same point where you were. Some of the students also come to me and tell me, Amit, I knew this. And they learned this in high school. So they know already the answer, but it was the first time for them to see it. And just by seeing it, it means that you doubt if really what you learn is really correct. So in the last demonstration, we saw a demonstration in mechanics. So in mechanics, you can see the things move. But for example, if you think about electricity, when we have protons and electrons, they also have other demonstrations just to feel the feeling of what does it mean with the electrons and protons. So what we have here, this is called a Van der Graaf. What it does, it has a rubber, and then it rotates and it brings from Earth many, many electrons. And then if I open it, I will have here a lot of electrons. I bring here a conductor. You know, there are materials that electrons can move freely, and there are materials that electrons cannot move so freely. These ones, it moves very freely. It's made of aluminum. We put it here. We know that a minus and a minus don't want to be together. So if everything here will be a minus, I give you the opportunity to think 1 second, and then we see what happens. Yeah? And then it just shows that really all the minuses, they want to go one after the other away. On the other side, if everything here is a minus, what is this? This is as if you have here now a battery. A battery is that you have one side a minus, another side a plus. How do I know that I have a battery? In a battery you have a closed circuit. If I put it very close, then you can see there is some kind of light. This light, in fact, it means that electrons move in the air and it moves from one side to the other. So it's as if I'm closing here a loop and the electron can move through the air to come to here. This happens only if there's thousands of volts in order to do so. So now what will happen if I touch this and then the electrons or the protons will come to me? And then what exactly will happen? To feel it, here I have another aluminum. And I give the students to think, wait, what will happen now if in this ball is a battery and we have here an aluminum? What will it want to do? We discuss it, we think about it, and then we just try and we see. So I open it, the balloon goes to there, then it comes to me, it touches me, slowly, it goes back to there. Then it bounces and it wants to come to me. It touches me and it goes back. You may think, what is the reason? And the reasoning is that electrons can move to here. So when it comes to here, it gets a lot of electrons. Then it wants to come to the plus. It comes to me, it gives me the electrons. And it goes back and forth all the time. So this is just an example, even though when we have things that is hard to see, there are ways how we can present it to the students. After class, we also have office hours. So in the office hour, I'm in my office and students can come to me. The idea in the office hour is not that student by student comes to me and everyone just sits and then I answer him his questions. The idea is that they will come in small groups. And in these small groups, we do like a small classroom. We just have a discussion. And then one student can ask a question and me, and also the other students can just give him advice. Hopefully, that from small groups and office hours, they can have more confidence to also afterwards ask these questions in a more bigger audience, like in a regular classroom. You know, if you want to be a very good basketball player, so you can go to class and you can learn a lot, but if you don't play, you will never get better. The same thing for questions. You just need to ask questions, and with time, you will feel by yourself when a question is more clear or when a question is less clear. And it's also psychologically, you also need to feel comfortable to ask questions, even though there are people around you and maybe some of them think differently. You'll find out that when you start asking questions, you will have more deeper questions slowly, naturally. I'll give you an example. Let's say a kid comes to you and asks you, why is it that my hand cannot go through this table? How can it be? I'm trying to push the table and go through it, but it doesn't go through. Then you answer him, you tell him, your hand has a material, this table has a material, so of course you cannot go through. If it's enough for him, he'll be happy and that's all. But if he'll be curious enough, he will go to deeper questions and he'll ask himself, wait, from what is the material? Material is made of atoms. Then you'll find out that this atom is made mostly of empty space. The nucleus is like one piece of rice in a stadium. So maybe my eye thinks, this is really a material. Everything is full. But in fact, it's almost empty space. And also the table is almost empty space. The reason why it cannot go through is not specifically mechanism of the material, but it's because of electrical forces. I meet the students already from the first day they arrive to GT. So I have the opportunity to see them from the first year, from the day they come to the second year, and I do see progress. I'll give you an example. I have a student that in the beginning, he would never ask me a question during the lesson. With the time and the courses, he started to feel very comfortable asking during the lesson. Nowadays, he's a senior student. He's a peer tutor. He comes in the evening and freshman students come to him and he builds with them discussions. I think the idea is not only about experience, but it's also about feeling comfortable. This is a university with a cross-cultural exchange. The human relationship and the feeling of a community also, I believe, helps them to have this confidence. Think that if you read an article or if you read something on a website, it's good to read it. However, you need to read it in a critical way. You need to think about if what is written is really correct. The same way as with AI. AI is based on asking him questions. So of course, if you ask an unclear question, he may give you an unclear answer. You want to be able to give him a clear question. So by basic, you need to know how to ask a question. After that being said also, you get an answer. The problem is to know how to look at it in a critical thinking and to think what is correct and what you should take from there and what maybe you may think differently. AI has never had the experience like a human being. He never smelled the real smell of a rose. He'd never been into a concert. We as human beings, what I believe we need to do is to take the great benefit that we have the AI, but in the end, to finalize the answer, to finalize the question by ourselves. What we do in the course is, students use the AI. They come to me. They show me this and ask this question in the AI. What do you think? We discuss about it. So I feel that currently nowadays the combination is the combination of student, AI and teacher working together. Nowadays there is a term that is called lifelong learning. Maybe in the past if you learn something, it will be beneficial for you for 10, 20, 30 years, maybe even more. Nowadays many of the data and many of the things that we need to do in work changes rapidly. And a very simple example is, think about computer science programming. You may learn C programming. After several years, you have Python. In several years from now, who knows what we're going to have? A person needs to be able to learn by himself, But to be able to learn by himself during his lifetime, he needs to ask the questions. He needs to know which questions he wants to ask, and to be in the end an autodidact, to be able to learn it by himself. The second thing that is very important is that here in the university, we try to embrace questioning. Sometimes in life, in the end, you will go to a company, you will be a researcher, you may have questions that maybe the society around you will not embrace you so much with these kinds of questions and doubt. But you need to feel comfortable even though the society doesn't embrace you so much. You need to feel comfortable still to ask these questions. I believe that with these questions and with these doubts, you get to really innovation. So what we give them here is just a way to feel comfortable, and then they will go afterwards, they will already have their self-confidence to have these doubts in anywhere they go in life.